Hey guys, my name is Alexander. I'm a spiritual teacher, guiding you to play your cards right from darkness to light. Today I want to open up the book of life and talk to you about the rather painful topic of divorce. As you may know, Angelina Jolie recently filed for divorce from Brad Pitt. And I really feel for them. I really do. It's not a pleasant thing to go through. It's not easy. And in this video, I want to shed some light on what may have really gone wrong at a deep level in their relationship based on my understanding of their cards to play as expressed in the Book of Life. And I hope these insights I share give you some perspective with which to understand your own life, too. We talk about these celebrities only so that we can shine a light on our own lives. Okay? So, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie were together for 10 years before they married. It's a long time. And obviously they must have been in love, or else they wouldn't have gotten married. I mean, they must have been happy together, or else why choose to get married? Right? You don't marry someone who you hate. You only choose to get married because you're in love. Okay. Then they're married for only 2 years and ready to call it quits. But they couldn't have been miserable together before they got married, or they never would have chosen to get married. So what happens? And this often happens to couples. When they get married, everything seems to change, right? So what is it that changes when we get married? Well, primarily the thing that changes is we get a new ego identity. We have a new ego concept, a new category that we must appropriate for ourselves. And this ego category of either husband or wife has a lot of connotations and stuff around it, a lot of expectations, a lot of baggage to these ego concepts. And suddenly we have very specific assumptions and expectations about how things should be based on this ego identification. And the expectations of these ego categories are largely inherited from our parents and imprinted on our DNA from our ancestors. These categories of how a husband and wife are supposed to be. So this inherited category of husband or wife, you might think of it like a new shirt we put on. And how are we going to put it on? And how are we going to fit into it and make it our own? Right? It's up to us to personally expand it, stretch it, and even maybe rip it open and totally remake it and redefine it to fit ourselves. Otherwise, this mental category of husband or wife might be so constrictive and restrictive that we just want to take it off completely and throw it away. Get divorced. So in marriage, it's all about how to appropriate these ego categories of husband and wife. Now, luckily, in the Book of Life, we can understand exactly what are the patterns that really drive our behavior. What shapes our human experience in any situation we encounter, like marriage, for example. So, in the Book of Life, Brad is born to play the King of Hearts. Angelina, meanwhile, is born to play the King of Diamonds. So, they are two kings together in one house, and it can be hard for two kings to share a castle. Each one wants to rule and lay down the law, so they might butt heads a lot on who has the final say. Playing the King of Hearts as he is, it would be very important to Brad that he gets to have the final word on matters of the heart. He would expect to be lord of his family. And we know he comes from a very strict traditional Southern Baptist family. So he probably has a very traditional ego concept of how a husband and a wife should be in marriage. Put that together with the fact that he's playing the King of Hearts, and he would not only have a traditional ego expectation that he is the man of the house, the boss, and that his wife and children should behave in traditional ways, but he also, as the King of Hearts, really wants to live his purpose as the authority of the heart, the master of what he loves, his wife and children. So it's important for his soul's growth that he does get to be the emotionally intelligent leader of any situation. The key here, of course, is emotional intelligence, and for him to appropriate this ego category of husband with emotional intelligence. If not, he could be like a petty tyrant, trying to bully others emotionally, with emotional outbursts, trying to lay down the law and make others follow his rules. Meanwhile, if he feels thwarted and unable to express his power, he very likely would drown his sorrows in debaucherous, escapist behavior, like drinking too much alcohol. These are the negative qualities of the King of Hearts energy, the angry emotional outbursts and the debaucherous behavior, which are exactly what he's being accused of in the divorce papers. So Angelina Jolie is angry at him for all the negative aspects of the card that he's playing, the King of Hearts. And what I've often heard from my clients is that once they understand the cards to play of their spouse or partner, it helps them to have compassion and forgiveness for those traits in their partner. And in my opinion, from Brad's perspective, the negative qualities of the King of Hearts are coming out because he's trying to unconsciously act out the traditional ego role of the husband as the man of the house. But Angelina Jolie is not having it, right? She was raised in a non-traditional Hollywood family, and so she has a very different ego concept of how a wife should be. Plus, she's playing the King of Diamonds. So she too wants to be the king, right? And in her case, she wants to have the final say on what matters most to her. If that's her children, which it is for her, then she wants to be the authority of who lays down the law, who decides for her children. Which, of course, would be very difficult for Brad to accept, since he wants to be the king of the heart in a traditional ego role, right? So, playing the King of Diamonds, she may not want to accept, needless to say, the traditional role of a wife at all. In fact, it may make her quite resentful and angry. Each time Brad unconsciously treats her like a traditional wife, it could lead her to lash out spitefully, especially if it triggers any wounding she carries in her of how women in her lineage were treated as wives in their marriages. So each time Brad tries to treat her like a traditional wife, it may trigger a deep wounding pattern of fear, pain, hurt, and suffering in her. But this is unconscious to both of them. They're both simply acting out their unconscious patterns of inherited ego categories, husband and wife. Then, if he has an angry outburst on top of that or goes on a drinking binge because she's resisting his authority, so he feels thwarted, then to her it's like pouring salt in the wound. It's enough to make her want to check out of this thing called marriage and being a wife altogether to avoid being wounded any further, right? But while each are playing king cards in the Book of Life, they have energetically in the Book of Life what is known as a moon connection. So their kings are moon to each other, which is the best and most supportive connection they could have. It's very nurturing. Brad's King of Hearts card is moon to Angelina Jolie's King of Diamonds card, meaning his energy is nurturing and supporting to her. It's just that many times people don't like to accept help, right? There's too much pride. We like to believe we can do it alone. We may even feel like accepting help is a sign of weakness, right? So we, for most of us, don't like to feel weak, but playing the King of Diamonds, Angelina Jolie's card, is a very powerful, prideful energy. And so she may loathe to accept any help and support. It makes for a potentially terrible, explosive combination. It means that the more he tries to support her, even in good faith, the more she may hate him. However, the King of Diamonds is famously a one-eyed king. So as much as Brad may be unconsciously pushing her buttons and acting like a jerk, right, she's also maybe blind to something truly important that he's trying to communicate with her. She may be only seeing one half of the picture, but because she's upset and angry and in defense, she may not believe him when he tells her something. She may think he's just trying to lord his authority over her. She may even get paranoid, believing he's trying to diminish her power and crush her authority. And as a king of diamonds, her own authority is of utmost importance to her. Needless to say, it's quite a dilemma for her. Do I trust this man to speak the truth to me, this man who keeps trying to support me as if I'm weak and wants to put me in this traditional box of wife as if he's the lord of the manor and I'm just his dutiful wife? Do I trust him? But yet, how do I know? She can't quite see the whole picture. She may not even realize she can't see the whole picture. And if she's not seeing the whole picture, she may rush ahead with a one-eyed, half-cocked, hasty decision. So for both of them, they must learn communication skills and strategies to be able to voice their feelings in honest ways that the other person can actually receive, non-blameful, non-threatening ways. It's how they can each be a master playing their cards right as the kings that they're here to be in this lifetime. And this is true whether they choose to stay married or not. Either way, they're going to fulfill their purpose as the king. It's just that in marriage, they're also wrestling with these ego categories of husband and wife and how to be the king inside of those categories, right? I really do wish them both well. I hope maybe they even watch this. Maybe this even helps them. I hope they both learn how to play their cards right and transcend these ego categories of husband and wife to transcend their own egos, right? So maybe they even get back together. Maybe they can even together bring healing to these much maligned and much wounded ego concepts of husband and wife. If not, if they continue with their divorce, they will soon find themselves dealing with new ego categories, ex-wife and ex-husband. And these two are ego concepts. And then they must appropriate and deal with those categories. And still they would want to be the king and be the authority. So still they would have to find ways to play their cards right. It takes immense courage and patience and love to transcend these ego categories, to go behind and beneath the egotistical assumptions and expectations, to interact with the real person and not our egoic projection of who we think they should be. It takes courage to do that. And I sincerely hope Brad and Angelina can both dig deep and discover the deeper truth within themselves so they can transcend their own ego identifications to find peace and happiness within themselves and with each other in whatever ego category they choose. And for you too, I hope you learn how to transcend your ego categories, whatever your own ego categories are. And if you'd like some help to do that, that's why I'm here, to help you see the truth of yourself, to help you play your cards right from darkness to light, so you can clarify your purpose, open up to joy, and bring forth your best. I'm here for you. Reach out if you'd like extra support. All my love, Alexander.